Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, basically what he does is he goes in and looks at two comparable organizations, so like Gillette and Schick, and says, okay, like they're both good groups, good organizations, but one of them's great.
Right.
You know, you look at like, Kmart and Target. You know, like Kmart at the time like wasn't bad. They just weren't great like Target is. And so he went and did this like comparison of all these like businesses comparing good to great. And it's like, what is that differentiator? What is it that makes that business go from being just a good business to being a great business? Because there's little nuances that make it happen. And so with the book, Seven Measures of Success, they took Jim Collins' same research model and put it into play for the association space and found like associations and, did this big study on like, what was it that made a good association versus a great association? And so that became the book. There were like 7 measures that like clearly delineated between those, great associations. And one of them that had always resonated with me was that organizations that are data driven, they don't just make decisions based on whims.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have intuition and you can have gut, but back it up with something.
Yeah.
Like, back it up with some data. Don't just like make a decision because you think that might be a good idea. I mean, oftentimes they can work. I started looking at what we were doing, and we looked at our mission statement. It was like to be the premier resource for the association management professional in North Carolina. So we did a survey of the membership, and what we said was our mission was what we were the worst at. I mean, like everybody was like, their professional development's awful. Like you don't do anything. So it's kind of like, well, that's a red flag. Like
it was the right mission, right? Just
the right mission. We weren't
execution.
acting. Exactly. So that was one of the things we did. We went through and like I went and recruited a professional development committee chair who was just phenomenal. And so at that point, we basically said like every single bit of education that we do has to be funneled through the filter of the CAE domains. So if somebody's like, oh, I've got this great network speaker that can, come and do a free keynote. Like, wow, where does that fit into the domains? Show me one of the domains where that fits. Because they were just bringing in speakers just like
lobbing ideas, just throwing it.
Oh, like, well, or they're free.
Or
they're free.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great. Like, this is a guy who cut his arm off in a tractor accident, and now he's like a motivation speaker. Like, well, let's bring this guy in because he's free. Like, well, what's the content? What's the value?
Right.
So association professionals quit coming to meetings because they were because it was so heavy on the supplier side. They were getting speakers that they wanted to hear, which tended to be not really related to the association world. So we flipped the script and we're just like, okay, no, like everything has to be association specific.